in today's world, people can find the business in a blink of an eye. With so many competing yet similar products and services to choose from, your branding, if you think about it, it's really what allows you to stand out from the crowd. So let's take a look at an example. If we think back to several years ago, maybe some of you remember this commercial or the series of commercials that Apple ran where it was, I'm a Mac, I'm a PC. Basically, they ran a series of emails with these two guys that we see here on the screen. The one on the right is the Mac, which is usually in casual clothes, and he would introduce himself as the Mac computer. And then the man that we see here in this example on the left, he's in the more formal suit and tie, and he technically represents the Windows PC. They would typically act out some sort of vignette comparing the two computers, and typically it would be poking fun at PC's downfalls, which was a pretty cool idea. Really, Apple and Mac, if you think about it at the time, I think it was probably within the last decade, they're both selling computers, but Apple really started to focus their brand on kind of being the cool brand and wanted to stand out against Windows, which was their main competitor at the time. They probably have a little bit more competitors now, but the way Apple presents itself and their brand back then and even today, it's really what helps them to differentiate themselves. It helps them to stand out from the crowd. As a small business or organization, you really want to be standing out from the crowd as well. But it all needs to start with some foundational elements that are going to help you to get your brand recognized. That way you can be sure you're presenting your business or organization in the best way to really bring it to life. Now, whether you're just getting started or maybe you're looking to improve your brand and your business, we're going to be sharing a lot of tips and suggestions today to help you to use your brand to set up, to get found online, and get business. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our agenda for today, and more specifically, what we're going to be covering in today's session. We're going to start out by talking about branding basics like your logo and the things that are going to help you to set yourself up for success that really go along with that. Then we're going to be talking about how you'll want to utilize tools like your website, listings and reviews, and even a little bit on social media so that you can get found and manage your brand's awareness. And last but not least, we're going to talk about driving business and relationships. And here we're going to be talking a little bit about email and digital ads. Now, before we get into all of the details, I wanted to more formally introduce myself as well as our additional expert for today. My name is Stephanie French, and I'm the Webinar Content Manager here at Constant Contact. I've been here for, if I can believe it, almost 10 years, and I'm well-versed in email marketing as well as a lot of other online marketing tools. So I'm happy to share my experiences, but I'm also happy to introduce our guest speaker for the day, Trev. Trev is actually one of our marketing advisors. And if you're not aware of that, it's actually a paid service here at Constant Contact where you can work one-on-one with someone just like Trev to get your marketing strategy off the ground and to the next level. It's really great one-to-one communications. Trev, I'll have you go ahead and say hello, and if you want to tell us a little bit about your experience and your role here at Constant Contact.
Well, thank you, Stephanie. Hello, everyone. My name is Trev Starr, and I've worked here at Constant Contact for a little bit more than 5 years. I have owned previously a little small Colorado corporation for about 13 years. So I've been excited really kind of working with Constant Contact and helping be part of the marketing advisors team here to help small businesses really navigate and help them with their digital marketing strategies online. So a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you share your experiences and some really great examples with us. Now, if you're looking more for information on that marketing advisor service, and if you want to work with someone like Trev, I'll have Rachel share a link in the questions window so that you can look into that information and see whether that's right for you. All right, so we're at a good place. Let's go ahead and start to dive in. Let's talk about setting your brand up for success. I want to start and kick this off by really sitting down and thinking about what the word brand really means. If you look on the internet and look for a definition, you're going to see a wide variety of definitions like I did. But a lot of elements really do go into making up a brand, and it's not just visual. If you think about it, it's the language and the tone that you use, whether you sound really professional or maybe casual and fun. Thinking back to that example we learned about earlier, that really translates into the interactions that you have with people and the product and service names that you use as well. Now, at a high level, a brand is the way a company, organization, or an individual is perceived by those who experience it. Simply put, brands are perceptions. Now, those perceptions can certainly help you to differentiate like we saw before and help you to stand out from the crowd. In the example with Apple, they really wanted to be perceived as cool and fun, and that's represented through their brand and their marketing, even I think in today's world. Now, there really are many elements, like I said, that go into making up a brand, and today we're just going to touch base on a few of those. We're going to touch base on the logo and a few elements that are going to help you in all of your other areas. If you think about it, having a logo for your business is really the cornerstone for your brand. It's a big part of your visual identity, and it represents your business everywhere. It allows you to make an instant connection with people and even start to influence them right from when they see your logo at the beginning. Now, whether you're just getting started or maybe you've been in business a while, maybe you want to sit down and take a look at your logo. Take a look and see whether it's making the right impression for you. Now, if you have an existing logo, now in the new year can really be a good time to look over what you have. So, Trev, I was hoping maybe you would want to discuss how someone would decide whether they should think about redesigning their logo. What should they think about there?
Good question, Stephanie. As there's many times, it really does make sense refreshing your brand and really kind of looking to find a better way to communicate with your audience. So I recommend coming up with some good questions to ask yourself. Does my logo or branding colors represent my vision well? And maybe you can think about, is my brand outdated? Or maybe your business model has changed, or maybe you've business has expanded and needs a new look. Would updating my brand breathe a new life for my company? Possibly something to think about. Maybe you want to connect with a new audience, as rebranding can definitely show your company's innovation and make it appear more representative of your message. So my suggestion is always to take the time and the investment to get your branding right.
And if you think about it, your consumers as well as everything in marketing is changing all of the time. So I think it's a really good opportunity to sit down and at least think about these basics at least every once in a while and see where you're falling. Are you presenting yourself in the right light? Now, if you don't have a logo or if you feel like you're looking for an update, I would actually recommend trying our free logo maker here at Constant Contact. It's actually something that uses AI or artificial intelligence. You can create hundreds of options really quickly, and then you can start to customize them to your liking. You want to be careful though, because we've actually used this at some of our in-person events and people are finding it kind of addicting because it's super fun to play with. Now, I'll have Rachel share a link in the questions window, and this has some additional information on using that free logo if you want to take this step to get in there and have a little fun and try to create a new logo that's going to work better for you. So today we wanted to share some tips for designing a great logo, and this will also play into the fact of, evaluating an existing logo if you have one. So I think first and foremost, really think about your brand story. What products or services do you offer? Who do you serve? How long have you been in business? And we can really see these types of things represented in this logo here on the right with Southside Cycling. We can see that they offer bikes, and that would tell me also, because we see EST 2002 when they were established, that tells me because they've been in business for about 18 years that they should be able to help me find the right bike and provide me with the right amount of expertise. Now, this next tip kind of is an extension of that, but using branding elements such as symbols and icons, these can also help you to really represent your brand. We saw the bike in the previous example, but this one represents a salon and what they do. The thing with this is, even if the name Olivia's Salon was in a different language for whatever reason, people should still be able to determine what we're offering because we are able to see those symbols and icons. Now, this next tip, this one is really to communicate with colors, because colors help you to communicate on an emotional level. And it's important that when you pick some colors for your brand, you stick with them and you use them in a lot of the other places that we're going to be talking about a little bit later. Now, here are just a few examples of colors and what they represent. Trev, do you want to talk about this a little bit more and talk about how color really communicates?
Sure. We know, emotions play a big part in what causes people to do different things. So find a base color that really is your primary. You can then choose an accent color that will be used after the base color. I always recommend to not do any more than 2 to 3 colors at the most. Make sure though, when you're doing your colors, you want to keep it simple for printing. It'll be helpful to keep that brand repetition and the same color to strengthen your brand's awareness. So I always recommend keep it simple and distinctive, as these colors will be used in your logo, your website, your storefront, and your advertisements. So make it something that's easy to work with and determines your brand's identity. So find a good color scheme.
Definitely. And this next tip is to use no more than 2 fonts. Make sure they're super easy to read. And here, especially with your logo, you want to think about your slogan too if you're incorporating that in there. Think about the style of font you want to use. And they fall into two different buckets. There's the serif font. We see that the example on the top right. And I like to say this has little feet. That's typically the best way I can find to describe it. But it is typically best for print. And people do find it harder to read online unless it is in a larger size. Then we have the sans serif font, which is the example that you see on the bottom there. People find this best to read online, and especially if it's used in smaller text. Now, fonts are also going to help you to convey a certain feeling or even an aesthetic, just like we saw with the colors. So here are 2 very similar logos for Michael's restaurant. Now, to me, the top one really does tell me that it is a fine dining restaurant. And the bottom one, to me, it's a little bit more whimsical and fun and doesn't quite get the point across that I think they're looking for. What I say is to go in there, especially in the logo maker with your designer, play around with different font styles and even colors until you're satisfied with the way it looks. And then test it with your customers and even your friends. Get their opinion and make sure you're communicating the right way. These fonts that you choose, they're going to want to be used in other places as well. We'll be talking about websites, email, and things like that, and those can play a role in those as well. Now, as with a lot of things, and like Trev mentioned a few minutes ago, keep it simple. As with almost anything in marketing, keeping it simple is going to allow you to use your logo, especially in more places than one. Plus, a logo, if you think about it, it's going to be in large sizes, maybe for banners. It's going to need to be in smaller sizes for those profile pictures on your social media and all things like that. It's going to be used online and in print. So definitely important to think about. So now we've talked about the basics for your logo and some branding information. That is really just the starting point to start to use it on all of your marketing channels. Now, these branding elements are certainly going to help you to play a role in getting found and even managing your brand's awareness in what we're going to talk about now. So in this section, we're going to touch on your website. We're going to talk a little bit about listings and reviews and even a little bit about social media. So I wanted to kick this section off and I want to start a poll. So let me go ahead and I'm going to launch it. You all should be seeing a poll on your screen right now. And you should be seeing the question, does your business have a website? You might say yes, and it works really well for us. Yes, but it could be better, or no, we don't have a website. We'll give everyone a minute just to go ahead and put in their answer for us.
A little bit of everything.
Yes. So far, we're seeing a total of 61% saying yes, but it could be better. And then for 33% saying yes, and it works well for us. And then about 5% say, no, we don't have a website. We'll give just another minute or so for people to go in and share their answers with us. And that 3% saying, no, we don't have a website. Sometimes it's scary for people to have a website. Sometimes it's limiting resources. I see a question from Brad while everybody's putting that in. Will Constant Contact be adding more email templates this year? Yes, I can't tell you how many, but they're typically rolled out, and usually what they do is they try to find some that aren't being used, or they just want to modify them, make them more modern and things like that. So definitely keep an eye out in your account very often so that you can see all of those templates.
We also too have some great animated templates. You can always call in and get some help with getting some of those. Some really cool themes for the different seasons.
All right, so I see that 79% of you have voted, so thank you for doing that. I'm gonna go ahead and close the poll, and I wanna share the results. So in total, 34% said yes and it works well, 62% said yes, but it could be better, and then the 4% said no, we don't have a website. All right, so let me go ahead and hide that poll. So let's start talking about some tips to make sure you have a really great website. And I think I want to talk a little bit about this for the people who don't have a website, because it is a crucial piece of marketing for all businesses and organizations. It's going to help you to get found and manage awareness of your brand. It's kind of like that online hub where you're going to be driving traffic to from a lot of different places, and it provides information that's going to help people determine whether or not they want to work with you. That's all because you're going to be able to bring in your brand. You're going to be able to tell your story to prospective customers and really inform them about what your brand is about. This is where you'll be able to represent your brand visually and even in the voice and tone that we talked about a few minutes ago. Now, whether you're creating a website for the very first time, or maybe you think it's time for a makeover, it has to be mobile responsive in today's world. A lot of people are going to stumble upon your website, and if it's not mobile responsive, it's not going to be easily navigatable by everyone who finds it. You want to make sure that you're providing the best experience right from when they get to your website. Now, here's just one example from one of our customers, Provence in Rockport, Massachusetts. This was from several months ago. We can see here that the website was not mobile responsive, and the way we can tell that is because the text is actually starting to get cut off from left to right. Now, I know for a lot of you, this whole thought of redesigning a website or creating a new one is scary because maybe you don't have the budget or the resources necessary. But you can actually create a great mobile responsive website with Constant Contact. It's a tool that we launched several months ago, and you can create a free website quickly and effectively. And when you create it through Constant Contact, you're going to have some really great features that are going to make sure you're on the right track. So it's going to be a secured website, which is important in today's world, and it's also going to load quickly, which is something else that's going to affect whether or not people may do business with you. Now, we actually recently sent some of our coworkers over to work with Dawn, who's the owner of Provence, and we helped her to recreate a website. The website we see here, and this was created using the new website builder. Not only is it more pleasing to the eye, but it is mobile responsive, and we can see things start to look a little bit different, get skinnier, and start to stack on top of each other. Now, we also worked with her to optimize her website in a few other areas, and I think these tips are really helpful for all of you as well. Now, at the very least, we recommend that your website has 3 main pages. You want to make sure you have an about page, a home page, and a contact page. The home page is really where a lot of people are going to land at first, so you need to make a good impression, and you need to make a good impression quickly. Then the about page is where you're going to start to tell your brand story, and of course, the contact page is your chance to connect. For a lot of you, you're going to want to sit down and start to think about some additional pages that are going to be relevant to whatever specific type of business or even the industry that you're in. Do you want to share some examples here, Trev?
Of course. If you're a restaurant, I would say you want to have a menu page. If you're selling something, set up an online store. And if you're a spa, you definitely want to include like a services page and list your prices. And hopefully you have a way for people to book an appointment.
Lots of great options there. And an online store especially is something that you can set up right within that Constant Contact website builder as well. Now, along with those pages, you're going to want to sit down and think about the questions that people are out there and already searching for. I like to say start with the questions that maybe people are sending you via email, or maybe they're in your store asking you. But what else might you suggest for what to put on these pages?
Oh, I'd say for your homepage, you'd want to show your products or services who's it for and why it matters to them. I'd say focus on a problem and solve that problem that they have. You can go to your About page. This is your chance to really show your expertise, show your story, and what differentiates you from your competitors. Really can help you stand out here. And then I'd say with your contact page, you'd want to tell people where they can find you. If you have a physical location or when you're open, so like your store hours, and even if you have a way to get in touch with you. So maybe it might be by phone or email, just let them know here.
Now, in our guide, Making Sense of Online Marketing, we're going to have Rachel share a link to what we're talking about. In that booklet, there's going to be a list of questions that are kind of some of the more basic things you want to make sure that you're answering. In the link, there's going to be a general version that you'll find at the top, and then there's also specific versions if you have a nonprofit, real estate, and retail stores. And you'll find a lot of really great information. That's going to be a little bit further down the page. Now, this last tip specifically for website is to add a sign-up form to your website. Try to get people on your email list. Something else you're going to learn about in that guide that we just mentioned is how all of these online marketing tools can and should be working together. Email, as we're going to be talking about soon, it's going to be how you're going to be able to drive business and build relationships that keep people coming back and engaged with you. So what tips do you have for creating a great form that's going to get people to sign up?
Well, good question. I know nobody likes to really give information out for free, so I'd say 3 main reasons why people would sign up would be either for a discount or some kind of promo. Maybe you're a nonprofit and they would just want to support your organization, so they definitely might receive some exclusive content or something that you have just by joining.
Absolutely, and I would say don't make it specifically about them just joining your list. It's not about that. It's about the benefits that they'll receive when they do sign up to your email list. Make it about that instead. So let's go ahead and switch gears. Earlier, we talked about how brands are perceptions that people are going to have about you. And listing and review sites really do play a role in that perception. They have your business or organization's information, and they're also going to be a way just for people to find out about you and how great you really are. Now, in general, we do suggest making sure that you're using Google My Business, a very big one and very big important one to think about. Facebook, because you can collect reviews, and then also Yelp. Now, it's also important to think about some other listing sites that maybe are industry specific to you. For example, if you're in the home improvement industry, you might think about Angie's List, and I think the other one is called Home Advisor or something along those lines. That's just one example, but there are tons of other industry specific sites out there. Now, we often get a lot of questions about Google My Business specifically. Do you want to share some information about what it actually is and why it is so beneficial?
Yes, it's really important tool that, since most Google searches are looking for information that's local to them. So registering your business with Google My Business is definitely important. It's a free tool. It really helps you to get found in Google search and in Google Maps. It's a great tool where they just send you a postcard. Once you register, you can put in the code and that will connect you up with Google. This tool really does allow you to connect with your customers. It really allows you to post updates to your business profile, and it's really a quick, easy way for people to find out things like your business hours, your location, and directions. And any type of business can use Google My Business, so it's a really cool tool, even if you don't have a physical location. Plus, it's the first thing that will pop up when people do a search.
Definitely, if you were to go out and do a search for any business, if you're on a desktop computer with a wide screen, you'll usually see it over there on the right. And if you're using your mobile phone, it's the very first thing that'll pop up in the search results. And that's just one reason why it's so cool and important. In next month's webinar, we're actually going to be diving to this topic in a lot more detail. We've got a really great expert who's going to be joining us to share some great information, and we'll be sharing a link on how to join that webinar at the end, and also in the follow-up email if you're not able to stay till the end. Now, there are also a few things that you're going to want to keep in mind. Let's talk about a few tips that you can get started with today. First and foremost, make sure that you're claiming any existing listing and review sites. What I want to suggest that you do is go out there and do a search for your business and then claim all the listings that show up under your name on the first page of results. Now, many of these pages actually get created when a customer goes out there and writes a review for you. If you need to claim them, look at this example over here on the right. You're going to see this Yelp page for the laundry company. And on the right, it says, "Is this your business? Claim this business." When you go in to claim it, you are going to have to answer a few questions and do a few things to verify that you do in fact own the company and should be able to manage the page. But being able to manage the page, that's going to allow you to put your information out there and make sure that it is correct. When you do add information to this listing for your business, think about things like your phone number and also your physical address. Consistency is really going to be key here across the board. All of your listings and review sites, and even on your website as well. That means it needs to look the exact same if you're using parentheses in the area code for your phone number, if you're abbreviating street and using a period at the end. Google's algorithm is going to look at those tiny details and really determine the legitimacy of a listing, which also affects when it's going to show up in a search. So pick a standard way to list that information and make sure it's the exact same every time. Maybe just create a document and copy and paste it so you don't miss one of those small details. Now, in the setup process, you are going to need to create a category for your business or organization. And in most cases, the more specific you can be, the better. This is really going to help the search engine as well determine which searches you belong in. Now, if there's not a specific category that describes your business, it is going to be best to choose a little bit more general one in that case, really just to describe what you do. And this last tip, this one's really important, is to always encourage reviews and then respond to them as well. So what tips do you have to encourage people to leave reviews for a business?
Well, there's so many places that customers can actually leave reviews, like Amazon, Google, Consumer Reports, and social media is a big one. So I always recommend to identify where you really want your reviews left and get a link to that location. Then you can use that link in an email you send out requesting to hear about your customer's experience after a purchase or a visit. And it's important to continually ask for reviews.
Yeah, you want them to be refreshed and you don't want old reviews from 3 years ago or on there. One thing that I've suggested in the past is actually to use the automation tool. One way you can do it is to set up a series of maybe 3 emails, where in the first 2 emails, you're kind of coaching the customer to best use your products or services. Maybe provide getting started information and then some tips and best practices. And then in that 3rd email, once you've kind of coached them a bit, they should have a good experience. Ask them to go to, let's say, your Yelp page or your Angie's List page and leave reviews for you. On the opposite side of that, we suggested to leave reviews or to respond to those reviews. What suggestions do you have there? How should people manage those listings and reviews?
Oh, good question. I would say it's really important to be genuine. Address them by their first name, since most of the time, if it's a Google or social media review, you do get their first name. So that's important. Thank them for their feedback. Definitely want to make sure your response is kept short. And if it's a negative comment, make sure to address the customer's concern with, a sincere apology works great, and express how that's not really a customary practice. So hopefully you can get them to come back, or just invite them back for another visit.
Yeah, try to turn those negative reviews into a positive one, and that just puts you in a better light when other people see those reviews as well. Now, social media is another great way to extend the reach of your business and get your branding information out there. That's because you're going to be able to get it out there visually and even provide information and interact with customers and even prospects. Social media is just another opportunity that can pop up in those search results and manage the awareness of your brand. So what tips do you have for our audience to think about in this new year to bring their brand to life on social media?
Yes, we always talk about language and tone and interactions with people and how they play a role in your brand. So we know in today's world, the power of social media and often searches out, someone will often search out business or an organization to ask questions and really get some help from you. Just want to make sure that you're paying attention to those conversations. You want to reply and help the people when they need it.
Now, another part of this is actually going to be on social media as well. So let's go ahead and forgot to show my examples there.
Well, I do have a little bit more information, when we're talking about, kind of when we're working with social media, we want to make sure that we're sharing content too as well. We want to always, go back to helping you get found and even encourage others to share helpful information. That will help you get posts and help you get new followers. So I always recommend posting and sharing quick tips. Maybe you might do some information from your blog posts. I always like to recommend to even share their emails using social media, our social share tool in Constant Contact. And in order to really grow your followers on social media, it can also be helpful to find people who may be interested in your products and services. Follow them back. Many times you'll see that they'll follow you back. So that's a great way to help grow your audience. Another thing, you might search for them based on hashtags or even in your location. If you do post with hashtags, make sure not to post more than 5. I've seen tons of people post lots of hashtags, not helpful. But I think, this last important bit of information I could probably share with you is that if you're new to social media, I always suggest, start out with one social platform. Try to get comfortable with that. That way you won't get overwhelmed by all the different social medias and the responses. Make sure that you're in a good place with that one platform where you can actually use and manage multiple platforms down the road. Don't post the same thing on the same post on every social media page, as you want to definitely use that different voice for the different platforms. And you definitely want to make sure that you adjust your message slightly for each platform, as it does make more sense and the people who are on it.
So Kathy, I see your question there. Why shouldn't a company post the same content across all social media? The audience is going to be different on each individual platform, as well as the platform itself. Instagram and Pinterest are very visual, whereas LinkedIn is very business and more professional-like. So you can use the same theme across it. You just need to adjust for who's actually going to be there and why they're on that social media platform. That's a really great question. You can actually easily post and schedule messages. We've got tools for Facebook and Instagram right from within Constant Contact. And that way you can manage some of these things right from within one central place. All right, so I think our audience, Trev, has some good information on managing their brand awareness, but let's talk about driving business and building relationships. Here we're going to talk about 2 tools. We want to make sure we're getting to the end so we have enough time for Q&A. First up, I want to talk about email. Email is a tool that can help you to accomplish both of these things. It's how you can incorporate all the elements of your branding that we've talked about up until here, visually and with your messaging in the brand and tone, so you can really bring it to life and reach people directly in the inbox. Just like with your website, it is very, very important for your emails to be mobile responsive. That way they are easy to read. People shouldn't have to scroll left and right to see your email, just like with that website. Now, I encourage all of you, if you're not sure whether your email is mobile responsive or not, test it on multiple devices. Send an email where you can go in and view it on your friend's phone and even your phone. Now, if you are using our newest editor within Constant Contact, you can rest assured you don't have to worry about it, because all of the templates are in fact mobile responsive there as well. Now, this next tip for email is actually to create a branded master template. And that's something that's going to save you time and keep your branding consistent over all of your emails. You can just copy it and simply add in your content each time. What tips do you have to help our audience create a great master template?
I always like to make sure that when you're doing master templates that you keep your branding colors and your elements, get them set up. You want to make sure that you put your logo at the top of your page, and I always like to recommend linking that to your website. People like to click on pictures, I'm not sure why, but you also want to consider making a few different master templates too. I always recommend doing one for a newsletter, or if you do events, making one for events. You might make another one just for promotions and product announcements. You might do another one just highlighting all of your services. And definitely, put one together for your reviews.
Now, along with this, I can't stress enough how it is important, again, to keep your emails simple. You really don't need a complicated design or even a ton of content. Once you have a master template, you only need to add a picture, a paragraph, and a call to action. That's it. And a master template that looks like what we see here can be super effective, especially when you're trying to get people to make a purchase, register for your event, or leave you those reviews. Now, I wanted to show a transformation. We worked with the Concord Cheese Shop. This one was a couple of years ago, but we worked with them to really simplify their emails so that they could start getting some results. They weren't using a master template before. On the left, we can see what they were sending and what was kind of the traditional from many years ago. This newsletter had multiple topics and it took them so long to create. They just weren't getting the results because it was so long. Plus, it was not mobile responsive, so it was especially hard to read all of this text on a mobile phone. Now, in this newest version on the right, they did use a master template for it to start from, and they simplified it a lot. And they were actually able to get people to sign up specifically for their cheese club, the monthly cheese lovers club, right from this email, and ultimately that helped to generate some sales. Now, in order to effectively drive business and build those relationships, we do suggest sending a variety of content, whether it's promotional and non-promotional emails. No one likes to be sold to, and that's why you want to do this. What are your suggestions? How should someone decide what kind of non-promotional emails they should be sending?
Well, I always think of one-off emails as kind of a fun way to, kind of highlight maybe a certain day that resonates with your business. Maybe celebrate a milestone like a birthday or anniversary. You can use our autoresponder tool for that. I think with emails, putting in testimonials are really a great way. People like to see how you're doing and what other people's experiences are. Try building buzz emails about a new product or service, or maybe an event that's about ready to launch. Really, the idea behind non-promotional emails is to help you stay top of mind with your customers. Use these type of emails to make sure you're sharing your expertise with them, and you can answer questions too that they might have to help provide best practices or even how-to information with your products and services.
Really show your expertise, stay in front of them, and show them why they should be doing business with you. I totally agree with that. Now, the next tip that we have for you for email, in maybe one of the most important things that you can do, is to segment your email list so that you can send targeted, relevant emails. Sending targeted emails is a great way to improve your opens, clicks, and overall your stats. You'll reduce unsubscribes and spam reports if you're getting those as well. Plus, we've seen some stats that show that targeted emails generate about 58% of all revenue because they're receiving information that's relevant and interesting to them. We have a couple of tools in Constant Contact that you might use to accomplish this and segment your list. And this first one is actually called Click Segmentation. You can set it up right when you're editing your email. It takes just a minute or two. And you can use it to segment people automatically based on where they're clicking in the email. Do you want to share some information about how your clients are actually using this tool?
Yes, this is a great tool. I really like this one as it's really helpful to help you get to know your audience. I've been working with some clients, or I know one, in particular who's in the payment processing. They set up a more general email that really goes out to the prospects with articles about different industries. They help to set up the click segmentation with the articles, and when the contact clicks on the specific link or button or image, they're actually added to a respective list for whether they're a nonprofit, maybe they're in banking or in property management. So when someone does click on the link, they actually are funneled into a respective list, which could, then kick off another series of emails related to their industry and their services that they offer. So we really try to make sure those emails encourage them to convert to a paying customer.
Awesome. Let's take a look at this next tool, and this one is actually called Segments. You'll find it under the Contacts tab if you already have an account, right up at the top, kind of left-hand side. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this tool and how you're working with your clients to use it?
Yeah, this for some of my clients who run events and seminars, we're using this tool to find contacts in certain locations. That way, we can send the relevant information about the event in their local area. I do also too have several clients who are using this for their contact activity. We've been using this to find their most engaged customers. That way they can send them a special offer for being a loyal customer. And probably another example I could say is this tool has really helped us to find clients that or customers or contacts who use this to find the unengaged contacts. So you can target them with a special message to win back them to come in or see you. So I often suggest, they try something different to reach them. For example, you can send a survey to see what their interests are.
Definitely, and if you're looking for more ideas and information on segmentation, it really is a much bigger topic. We actually did a webinar several months ago, and I would have Rachel go ahead and share the link to that in the questions window. So if you want to watch it, you can go in there later and learn much more about that topic. But a lot of people found that really interesting and helpful as well. These are just two ways that you can think about, and these are pretty easy to use within Constant Contact. Especially the segments tool, you'll be able to combine multiple pieces of information to create a really specific segment that works for you. Now let's move on. Let's talk about another tool, because another way you'll be able to drive business is through digital advertising, and that's going to really help you to bring your brand to life, to get in front of the right audience. Google and social media ads are great tools to drive business because they allow you to get super specific with your targeting so that you can reach the right people. You can also set the budget, and that's going to allow you to start getting results more quickly. You might want to think about Google search ads and social media ads, both of which can be easily created directly within Constant Contact. Now, I like these because if you've never run any ads before, or you've tried and you just felt it too cumbersome, these tools within Constant Contact are so easy to use because we've simplified the process of creation and management for you. So we're going to go ahead and have Rachel share a link to find out more information about creating these ads. Well, I'll have Trev go ahead and share some of his tips and suggestions for these ads as well.
I would always say, focus on your best-selling items so you can really focus your ad and target the right location and audience. I once had a customer who created their own Facebook ad and didn't specify the right audience or location, I should say. So unfortunately, she generated a lot of interest, but being in different states, she wasn't able to help them with their services, unfortunately. I always recommend, plan to run $100 for your ad. That way you can make sure that you have enough to work with and to get the results so you can assess and adjust if you need to. Include main words in a headline and description. That will help you quickly get the information to people so that they can understand what you're offering. Another one would be to consider your call to action, I would say, in your social ads, you'll be able to choose a button for your call to action. But in Google ads, you'll tell them, specifically what it is you want them to do. And then I would say this last tip I would recommend would be to make sure you run the ad for at least a week. You want to make sure you're giving your ad enough time to run so you can get those results. And this is really specifically important in you just getting started, if you're just getting started with ads.
Alexa, I see your question. Yes, we'll be sending out the links in the email as well, but you'll also find them in the questions window for the meantime. So I like those tips, especially for the budget as well as the timeline, because small businesses, all too often I see, they just set something up and they're nervous and they just say it's not working right away. So you've got to give it enough time to let it do its thing and, run through all of its processes. On this next slide, I actually wanted to share some information about Provence and the ads. We worked with her to run some social media ads. Now, we don't have information about what she was running before, besides the fact that she was only using Facebook boosting. I've seen this question come up, but what is the difference between an ad and a boost? A boost focused on post engagement, and then it also doesn't give you as much control in terms of all the settings that you're going to have when you are creating an ad. So let's see what our team worked with her to put out. So this one is what we call a Facebook lead ad. For those of you who are looking to really grow your email list, this is a great option. You can get out there and you can target new people and entice them to sign up. So she was enticing them to sign up with 15% off their first order, which I think is really great. This next ad, this is a regular Facebook ad, and this helped her directly drive business because we can see the call to action was shop now. This can go directly to your website or a specific page on the website. And like Trev was saying with the keywords, her main tool that she's focusing on, or the product, I should say, that's the right word, is the French tablecloths. And that's the keyword that she was really focusing on here. Now, this last one was actually a Google search ad. And with this, we were able to generate some clicks and traffic to our website, but it didn't quite perform as well as our team had hoped. So like with anything in marketing, ads, email, testing is always a great thing to do, and giving it time to play around with keywords, who you're targeting and all of that, so that you can see what really does get you the best results to see what works for you.
We always want to say assess and adjust, so you're always going to do that with your ads.
Keep that top of mind as you're going through your marketing. All right, so I think we're at a good point now where I do want to start to wrap up. I want to recap a few things before we get to our Q&A. Now in the new year can be a really great time to refresh the basics of your branding. Remember, keep your logo simple and use colors that are going to communicate what you really want to convey, those feelings. You can use the logo maker directly within Constant Contact really easily to create a logo, something that's going to work for you. Now with your website, make sure that your website first and foremost is mobile responsive. It's so important, and you want to make sure that your website is putting information out there that answers the questions that people are searching for. Make sure that you're first and foremost with your listing and review sites claiming them. Use email after a purchase to encourage people to leave you a review, or if they're in your shop, just say, hey, could you go to, let's say, your Yelp site and leave you a review. And then make sure that you're responding to those reviews as well, even the negative ones. With email, when it comes to that, make sure you're keeping your emails simple and consistent. We recommend that master template. It's a super quick way to get started with each email. And don't forget about sending the relevant information and the tools there. There's Click Segmentation as well as the segments tool on the contacts page. Last but not least, is to run Google ads, or Google and social media ads. We suggest starting with at least $100 and make sure you're letting them run for at least a week so that you can get a good amount of time for people to be out there and actually seeing the ads. When you use these tools in the right way, it's going to help you to refresh your branding and really generate awareness and drive business in those relationships with people in this new year. So make sure your brand really carries through in all of these elements, not just visually, but make sure you're using the voice and tone that you want to portray as well. So go ahead and send in any final questions you have. I know we have a ton that we're going to try to answer, but I wanted to let you know, again, this is how you can learn about our marketing advisor service if you want to connect specifically one-on-one with someone like Trev or someone on his team. And I'll have Rachel, again, share that link in the questions window. Now, last but not least, here is that webinar link. So harness the power of listings and reviews. That's our next webinar. It's happening on February 27th. So let's go ahead and get into our questions. All right. So this first question is from Angelina. Have you noticed a decrease in open rates since there has been an increase in advertisers over the years? So I would say no. Have you seen any information on that, Trev?
I really haven't, not to my knowledge. I haven't seen anything that has really affected, that's where and knowing your audience is important and giving them that right information so you can get those good open rates.
And because with email, you should be specifically, if you're doing it right, you should be asking them to join your mailing list and offering them something or letting them know the value that you're putting out there. So I would really say they're just two separate things and they shouldn't have any effect on each other. Now, this next one is from Richard. If a company is well known by their logo, isn't it true not to completely rebrand as you may lose customers? I would say in some cases that's true, but I've also seen with Constant Contact where we've made some changes over the years because I've been here for almost 10 years. The logo has changed just slightly, but it's still in my eyes very recognizable, and I would say it's very recognizable to all who know it.
Yeah, if something's working, keep it. Maybe just a little refresh can, definitely help you reach that audience that you're trying to really identify with.
Yeah, maybe you just change it slightly or adjust your tagline or the colors or something like that. But that's a really great question. Now, this next one is from Jay. I'm assuming that's how you say your name. I apologize if I just butchered it. For a brand name, do you have to include a noun to describe the name kind of service you provide? For example, if you're opening a clothing store, would you include XXX clothing store or whatever the name of it is? Or can you just use XXX without mentioning clothing?
Well, you definitely do benefit by giving people, kind of straightforward what your store is about, especially if they don't know about you or about your brand or company. So having that identifier in there can really help them choose if that's what they're looking for.
And I think when you start tying everything together, you've got your logo and you can use some of those branding elements that help you to tell your story. And those symbols and icons can play a role in that as well. I would say also it's kind of dependent on where it would go, because if you're using a domain name for your website, maybe you do want to add the clothing store in there.
Maybe, or if you're trying to build your brand, you might not put clothing store in there. You just build your brand, and then maybe you have like in your subtext or subheadlines little information, or like you said, that logo with the symbol or image can really help.
Great. Well, we've got several more questions we're going to go ahead and try to answer. So Janice says, why have a website if we have a social media presence? And I would say this is probably one of the biggest reasons that people feel they don't need a website. Let me start off first by saying, and then I'll let Trev jump in, but basically, if you think about social media pages, what if you have a social media pages and Facebook just goes away entirely, or Facebook goes down for a day or 3 days? You want to make sure that you're out there and you have something that you own. And having something that you own is also going to give you the control versus trying to rely just on social media algorithms, which do unfortunately limit, what people are seeing about your business.
Facebook's algorithms, consistently changing as they're trying to keep up with, addressing maybe some concerns, or they really want that engagement with your customers or people that are visiting your page. So having that engagement is important, but having a website is really important because it can really show your services and your expertise in a lot bigger manner or fashion than just using social media. Plus, if you have products for sale, you can definitely have, a shopping cart, and having a website is really kind of your door to the outside world.
Yeah, and social media as well as like email, you want to drive people specifically to that website that you own so that they can get a lot more information about you and see all of those great visual elements that we talked about that should be a part of your brand. We didn't get to talk about it a whole lot, but you're going to be able to add in much more visuals. You're going to be able to have in more colors than, you don't get that sort of customization on Facebook or Twitter or anything like that.
Definitely not.
So this next one is from Nathan. Can we get a survey or a poll within our email campaigns? Yes. Let me go ahead. I'm going to just pull up a Constant Contact account here. And I'm just going to go in and create an email.
There's actually a really cool action block that we have that you can run a poll with. And we do have even a separate survey tool that you can take a URL from. and put it in a link in your email or tie it to a button or an image.
Definitely. I'm going in to show you the action block within the email tool that Trev was talking about, and I'll show you how quick and easy it is to go in and add that. So I've just gone and I've created a brand new email and I've chosen a template. And then what we'll see over here on the left, when you have the plus package, there is the poll option. You can just click and drag. You can click and drag any element, which is what a lot of people really love about the Constant Contact email editor. And you'll see it pops in here. I didn't really want it to pop in right there. My internet's a bit slow for some reason, I think.
A lot of customers or a lot of people online here.
Yeah. So this is what it looks like. And if you want to go in and edit the poll, we'll just choose that. So the default question, is the content of this email relevant to you? You can totally change that to what do you like about our products and services, and then you can enter up to 10 answers. They'll just be able to hit the button directly within the email and it'll record right within your email reports. So definitely something cool to check out and collect those responses right from within your email. Check that out. You'll also find the survey option if you go to the create button in a Constant Contact account. We've got lots of templates you can start from, or you can start directly from scratch.
Having that Email Plus account really does help you really get all the tools and access to all these little features.
Definitely. Now, this next question comes from another Stephanie. Does this free website provide a shopping cart? Yes, you'll be able to go in there and add pages specifically for your shopping cart. You can start with a few basic ones, and then depending on the package that you have, you can create a free website, but then there are some of those additional features if you want to go in and use those.
A really cool part about that free shopping cart is that if you have, say, one of your items is a shirt and it's in red, green, black, and maybe small, medium, large, that doesn't count as multiple items. That counts as one item, and you can rotate those items. So maybe you run 3 items for 1 month. The next month you go in and change it up to 3 different items. But yeah, you can definitely have all, kind of a rotation, and that comes with the free one.
And I'll see if Rachel can go out there and find the pricing, the link to the pricing for the website, so that you can see how the packages are laid out and what's included in the free versus anything that's kind of an upgrade. Rachel, if you could share that in the questions window, that would be super helpful, and thank you. This next one comes from Barry. We have a corporate website but don't control it. We have been using landing pages. Is that the best way to go? I'm going to say no, but I don't know specifically how you're creating landing pages. It is best to have your own domain and things like that. And I think a website like with Constant Contact with the website builder, you're going to get so much more control over it. Do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I do work with a lot of customers that don't really have that opportunity to get into their website, add a sign up form or update information, things like that. So that makes it a little more challenging. With those folks, we always make sure, that they have, social media business pages that can really help them. And yeah, some do their own website through, Constant Contact, and kind of make sure that you get that permission set up with the corporation.
Yeah, and you're going to have so much better control and be able to change the things you want when you need to, versus having to rely on someone else to go in and make those changes. And with the web builder, it's super easy to do that. You really don't have to have a ton of experience.
A lot of realtors actually are utilizing that tool, since they kind of want their own website, so other realtors don't steal their customers.
Yeah, definitely. So Robert has a question. Do you have advice for calling contacts that have opened emails?
Calling them on the phone, if that's kind of the key. I would probably not call them on the phone, but I would maybe send up a follow-up email, just kind of addressing that you notice that they're maybe interested in a certain product or service, and you just want to let them know that you're there to help answer any questions, or maybe give a demo, maybe set up an appointment with them so you can go more in depth. So I would do it by email.
And I think it really depends on your reason that you might have for calling as well. Maybe if in the sign up process, you're letting people know, you don't want to inundate them and feel like they're getting too much too soon from you and feeling overwhelmed. All right, so we are at the top of the hour, and I know we have some more questions that we're not going to get to right now, but we've got a couple of things. We're going to have the community team post, which a link will be in the follow-up email. They're going to be sharing some answers on the community page, and we're also going to be putting together a video that answers a lot more of these questions that have come in. We had tons and tons of really great questions, and we're going to do our best to get those answered. The video for YouTube is actually going to be put up there tomorrow. We're aiming for the morning in order to be able to get that recorded and put up there for you. But keep an eye out for these additional resources, and you can always call our support team if you have questions there as well. What I do want to note is that when we close out of the webinar today, you will see a survey. If you could just take 1 or 2 minutes and tell us what you thought about the webinar today, we would certainly love it. It really is just 2 questions. Tell us what you thought. Help us out. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close out of the session. I don't want to keep everyone past the time that we have scheduled, but thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Trev.
Thank you for having me, excuse me.
And I also want to say thank you to Rachel and all of the team behind the scenes who've helped us to answer questions as well. So thank you so much and have a great day.